and all kinds of special secrets are brewing just for you and your little dog. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's start the presentation. From Knott Scary Farm, from the fog, past, present, and future. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause for our first presenters.
Testing.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome, all you silhouettes of people. It's good to see you. My name is Eric Linksweiler, and I am the co-author of this book of Knott's Berry Farm history. I am your Knott's Berry Farm historian.
Yeah. And I am Ted Doherty, author of this book, Knott's Halloween Haunt, A Picture History. Welcome.
Oh, I'm so excited to present to you guys today. What are we looking at? A little bit of the past. Well, you're stuck with two historians, so we're going to have to go backwards before we go forwards. Let's start at the very first year, 1973. Way back in September of 1973, a few folks in marketing got together and they decided that they wanted to put together a show on Halloween. They gave themselves 1 month to put together a 3-night Halloween festival. That's it, just 3 nights, as simple as can be. They actually asked the departments themselves, could you decorate your own area? For the haunted shack, they decorated with a pumpkin. A sad, rotting pumpkin. And they asked their guides to put on vampire teeth and tell ghost stories as they toured the haunted shack. We also had a little bit of, Munsters rip-offs going on, and Claude Bell over there decided to decorate his shop with some tissue paper ghosties. Meanwhile, over at the log ride, Satan's Sawmill, Bud Hurlbut decided to go in a little different direction. He actually decided to theme the log ride, theme the mine ride with a little bit of help from John Waite. They rented a whole bunch of costumes and props and they decorated the place with a whole bunch of costumes and props.
That's right.
The mine ride wasn't too far off. The mine ride decorated as well. But it was in the mine ride that they realized that there was the possibility of doing real human scares inside. Those human scares actually were the most popular scares in the park for a while.
Yeah, and believe it or not, the log ride and the mine ride were the most popular haunted attractions at Knott's Scary Farm during the early stages of the event. People waited hours and hours in line waiting to be scared by those live monsters. So the Knott family didn't take very long to realize, hey, people enjoy getting scared. And so by 1977, they constructed a temporary structure built to scare people. The first maze built solely for Knott's Scary Farm was 1977's The 10 Chilling Chambers. This is an advertisement flyer for that season. We can see that the 10 Chilling Chambers is built in the middle. And that really groovy artwork in the border actually depicts scenes of what guests encountered inside. Things like the Werewolf Canyon and almost like sideshow magic illusions like Dracula's floating hands and the Spider Woman, the Headless Woman, those types of things. And this is the actual floor plan for that maze. That big square in the middle is Jeffrey's Barn, a structure that's still there in the middle of Ghost Town. It's now named the Wilderness Dance Hall. And so this maze was built around the backside of it.
One of the things I love about this is it does point out all the individual rooms that they designed for this maze, including the very spooky wall-feeling room at the top. I have no idea what that is, but I want to bring it back, the wall-feeling room.
Right. This is some more preliminary artwork. That octagon-shaped room actually housed some of those magic sideshow illusions that I mentioned earlier.
But it's in the lower left that I'm going to turn your attention. There's a drawing of a corridor, and in that corridor they have very low knee knockers, they call them, in order to trip guests as they're going through the maze. That's something I think we should bring back.
Probably so. Probably so. Now, this photograph is really rare. This is the best known photograph that we've come across connected to this maze. This is the front entrance to the 10 chilling chambers, and that really awesome, amazing Afro space dude was a microphoned barker enticing guests to go into the maze.
I think Afro Space Dude should be a maze in and of itself.
I agree. And this maze set a new standard for Knott's Scary Farm, because every year since then they create these mazes for the event. So the following year, 1978, they introduced the Trail of Terror. It's basically in the same location.
The Trail of Terror, though, set a good standard because they didn't just bring out the exact same maze, they switched it up. They learned from what they did, they made a new maze. And that's something that we at Knott's do all the time. We just keep switching it up, switching it up.
Right.
So in this instance, we can actually see the layout of that maze. What does the exterior look like? The exterior is pretty plain and simple, very, very simple. But on the inside, they spent bucks.
They did. And as we could see in some of these additional photos, they were definitely trying to raise some production inside this maze with having guests sort of navigate through the cemetery and things like that.
It was a wandering path that you would go up and down small hills around gigantic fake trees with pop-up bodies. You would make your way towards a Dracula-like castle with a headless animatronic. Meanwhile, over on a table was a talking head, and beyond that, it got a little bit more weird in the glowing stock room.
Right. But in order to really bolster the production value for these mazes by 1979, they hired an outside design firm to create a maze for them, which resulted in Black Bart's Trail of Terror.
Now, Black Bart's Trail of Terror was housed in a building that's still there. It's the livery stable today right at the end of Main Street. That was the home of this professionally made maze.
Right. This maze was extremely big budget for its time. They had tight, narrow caverns that guests navigated through, very elaborate sets of Old West saloons and jail cells. They even had a full-blown real horse skeleton, something you probably couldn't do nowadays.
No, maybe we could.
Could we
get away with doing a full dead horse in a maze? I don't know.
And they even incorporated a video projection, which was kind of a big deal back then for a maze like this. This maze was so big budget, in fact, that efforts were made to have this become a permanent all year round attraction at Knott's Berry Farm, as we could see in this ticket, Black Bart's Trail, summer of 1980.
But I think we at Knott's Berry Farm learned that you really can't have a year-round maze. A year-round maze just kind of reduces the value of your maze in general. But I'm not pointing fingers at any other theme park in particular, am I?
Eric, he said it.
It's on my shoulders, sorry.
Well, as Knott's continued with the maze presentations, there was another very important element going on in the streets of Ghost Town, and that was the Wild West stunt show. Stunt personnel dressed as monsters recreating their skits with sort of a macabre twist. And in between those presentations, they would roam the streets of Ghost Town and engage the guests. They were the very first scare zone monsters at Knott's Scary Farm. And we could see some photos of what they looked like back then.
And these are about 1973, 74, 75.
Exactly, yeah. And not too long after that, Knott's Berry Farm began to hire from the outside to cast these positions, which kind of led to a new generation of actors that began to experiment with ways in which to sort of engage and entertain and scare the guests. They discovered that the guests didn't like to have monsters crawling around their feet and legs. That crawling began to morph into body slides, which was the very beginning of a scare tactic we now know as sliding.
And all of these photographs date to about 1985.
Yeah, so these photos are extremely rare. They've never been publicized before, so those were the earliest known photos of any sliders. So as those characters and actors sort of define the art of the scare. A new generation of artists were brought in to help define the art of Knott's Scary Farm maze design, which by the 1990s we had mazes such as Lair of the Vampire, Dominion of the Dead.
But I need to find out from the audience, do you remember Lair of the Vampire, Dominion of the Dead? Yes. We were there. I love that.
Yeah. And other mazes like Mother Noose's Scary Tales and Nightmares. We've got some photos of what some of these earlier mazes look like, and the production value began to soar.
They were gorgeous on the inside. You could spend your time just wandering its hallways, looking at the details that made them so spectacular.
Yeah, they had this sort of dark artistic beauty about them. Yeah, and this sketch right here is from a maze named Revenge of the Dead, in which guests encountered evil zombies throughout different eras of time, like pirates and Roaring Twenties, World War II.
Now I have to ask, how many of you guys remember these particular mazes? A few?
A couple.
A
couple.
I was there. I remember that these mazes were so enormous, they took 20, 25 minutes just to walk through them.
Absolutely enormous, and so Revenge of the Dead was a sort of an earlier example of a mega haunt at Knott's Scary Farm. It was absolutely enormous, took forever to get through. Eventually, it morphed into the post-apocalyptic themed industrial evil, which included pyrotechnics, and eventually that morphed into the long-running maze underground. And those mazes paved the way to a famous maze that debuted in 2000, the Carnival of Carnivorous Clowns.
Yay.
3D. And this was the first time that Knott's Berry Farm used the chroma depth technology for the 3D technology, but they all helped build the foundation for a very ambitious presentation named Special Ops Infected. Any fans of Infected? Yeah. This is where Knott's Berry Farm takes the entire 6-acre Camp Snoopy Midway portion of the theme park, cuts it off from guest traffic, and turns it into a zombie apocalypse laser tag. Extremely ambitious, extremely popular. But as great as these mega haunts have been at Knott's Scary Farm, and as great as the sliders and the monsters and the mazes, none of it would exist if it wasn't for one person. That person is Larry Vincent, who is an actor who portrayed a character named Seymour, the Master of Macabre, who was a very famous television horror host here in Southern California in the early 1970s. It was Larry Vincent and his people who first contacted Knott's Berry Farm to have Seymour perform at the park, and that was the very genesis of the first Halloween haunt at Knott's Berry Farm.
But he was the first host, but he was not the only host.
That's correct. Other celebrities have been involved with Knott's Scary Farm, such as Wolfman Jack.
Wolfman Jack is a favorite. A few others have been.
Yeah, and he was a famous radio and television personality. And there's others that have come along over the years, like Weird Al Yankovic and Dr. Demento and Dr. Cleaver.
The puppet guy.
Crypt Keeper. Los Angeles Dodger, Steve Sachs. But other celebrities have sort of come and gone. But these are the true celebrity host pioneers that revolutionized Knott's Scary Farm.
Thank you for agreeing with us.
Hey, wait a minute, hold on. Oh my God. You two call yourself historians? God, ridiculous. I mean, you just missed talking about the two best things at Knott's Scary Farm. I mean, after all these years of me bending over backwards, and sometimes forward, to make Elvira everybody's favorite ride in the park? God. Anyway, darling, I'm glad to say, boys and ghouls, that I'm going to be back for another spooktacular year. That's right, with my all-new extravaganza, spooktacular, Elvira's Dance Macabre. That's right, it's going to be a virtual masquerade ball of comedy, music, and dancing. So I want to see each and every one of you there all the nights that I'm there. It's going to be September 22nd to October 31st, and I expect to see you all in the front row. Am I right? Yes? All right. All right, you guys. See you there, and unpleasant dreams.
Wow. Elvira. We have another very special announcement to make regarding Knott's Scary Farm's 2016 season. And to tell you a little bit about it, we're going to bring out a couple extremely talented artists from the Knott's Berry Farm Entertainment Design Department. Give it up for John Aspirin and John Cook.
Hi guys.
Test, test. Hello.
We are very excited to make an announcement today. You guys ready to hear it?
I think they are. I think they're ready. Here we go.
Well, let's give it to them.
Mission control, do you copy? The mission has been compromised. I repeat, the mission has been compromised. Send in the recruits.
The next installment of the Infected attraction. To further explain, I brought along John Aspirin, who's been digging in the trenches with me since day one. We've been working on Infected together.
Yeah, we sure have. Actually, even before day one, I think. Before day one, we've been masterminding this whole entire zombie apocalypse, and you know, it's amazing just to kind of see the progression of where we are today with this whole zombie interactive experience. And John, I think we should sort of set it off. Let's give him a little heads up on a few things.
So to kind of explain why we decided to rebrand this entire attraction, to show you where we're going, we're going to take a step back, way back, to show you where it all started for us.
Real quick, how many gamers do we have here in the house? All right. It's so funny because, you know, we're gamers as well. I mean, we the whole idea of inspiration and gamers, I think, John, you wanna tell them a little something about that? I mean,
for me, it started when I was a kid, sitting around the TV with my little brothers, just playing video games. Those were the first seeds that were sown in my mind that would later become Special Ops Infected.
Absolutely, and the crazy thing about how we were inspired and brought Special Ops Infected to you were through video games. And it's funny because, you know, we both lived in different area codes. He was raised in Upland.
Inland Empire, yep.
Inland Empire. And I was raised in Hawaii. Two different area codes, but the great thing was that video games sort of inspired what we're bringing to you today. And real quick, how many of y'all want some free Knott's Scary Farm tickets? Make some noise. Okay, so we're gonna give out a free ticket now. Can I drop something?
Knott's Berry Farm tickets.
Knott's Berry Farm tickets? Oh, and just as good. Okay, so if we have gamers out there, let's take it back. Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA start. Hold on.
All right, what game is it from?
There you go. All right, we got you a free ticket.
So, hold that thought. All right, let's keep going here.
Let's keep going. Now, what inspired us were these video games growing up. And so if you're a product of the 70s or the 80s, a lot of these games might ring a bell to you. And not only the games, but, you know, we also had comic books that sort of shaped our childhood. From games like Contra, Gauntlet, and comic books like everything from Marvel Zombies down, of course, The Walking Dead. You know, there's just so many games and comic books and all these things that shaped our childhood, which I'm sure shaped a lot of your childhoods.
that sort of just really brought the inner fanboy out of us both as we were growing up. 2 separate area codes. And, you know, one of the things that we enjoyed especially about these games were that these games gave us a certain feeling we'll talk about a little bit later that, you know, you'll definitely find in Infected.
Yeah, and then as we grew up, we segued into real action sports, whether it's laser tag, paintball, airsoft. It was that next level. It was the feeling of stepping away from the TV screen, getting the weapon in your hand, going out, smelling the dirt, being able to yell to your friends, and being fully immersed into the game that you're playing. And as you can see, there's maybe a couple of different ingredients for Infected that are kind of starting to come together as we're aging, I guess, really, right?
Yes.
And then something happened. Through different media platforms, there was a rise in one horror genre, which happened to be zombies. Whether it was movies, TV, video games, it didn't matter. The zombie genre is now a household name. You can sit down with your parents and have a discussion. Well, what weapon do you want to bring to the zombie apocalypse?
Or where would you go if there was a zombie apocalypse, right?
Right. So now that we have all these elements that are starting to unknowing to us, come together, there was one major event in my life where things started to click. And that was my first visit to Knott Scary Farm. Do you guys know what Knott Scary Farm is? There we go. At this time, my first visit, automatically, madly, deeply, insanely in love with the haunted attraction. I knew for the first time in my life what I was gonna do. I had a clear vision. I needed to create the zombie apocalypse, one way or another. So, at the same time all this is happening, another event in the Infected progress was coming together, and that was when we first crossed paths, and that was playing airsoft and paintball.
Yep.
So, immediately we hit it off. We started talking about zombies and all these different things and how we can bring all this together to make it a fun game, and that's what we were trying to do. We just started experimenting with different airsoft and paintball games, which led us to, we need to do this on a major scale. And we knew that Knott was the place to do this for a couple of reasons. One, it's a major Halloween event, and two, Knott has always been at the forefront of innovation, always willing to push the boundaries when others aren't. So we brought the idea to Knott to implement the first year of Special Ops Infected. Just one more group, yes. A big thing that is probably not known is the first year was actually 2013 that this idea was brought to the table. And it was met with a lot of different attitudes. Some like, this is crazy, why would we ever do this? The others very excited, yes, let's try and do this. But because time was going so fast, we got caught up in the entire haunt build process. We decided to shelf it for a year and bring it back, revisit the idea in 2014, which we then decided, sure, what can go wrong? Let's give this a shot. So, working together, we decided to come up with a couple different things. The first thing is, where can we house such a massive experience? Which brought us to Camp Snoopy. 6 acres. Now, the problem here is that during the day, the little kiddies need to be able to come through and visit Snoopy. And then by night, we had to flip this thing to a terrifying, blood-soaked zombie apocalypse.
And how much time did we have to flip that experience from Camp Snoopy to Infected, John?
Well, we probably needed about an hour and a half, but we had 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Which took the entire team to come together, whether the zombies or the squad leaders or park services, or we were out there pushing barricades, all that so thousands and thousands of guests could come, grab a laser tag gun, join a squad, and live out their zombie slaying dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. And big shout out to our whole entire operations and behind the scenes team at Knott's, because without them it wouldn't have happened, because it's such an ambitious feat to pull off Infected every single night throughout our run that that they were there 24/7 helping us out and providing that support. So a big shout out to our entire behind the scenes team at Knott Scary Farm. Knott's Berry Farm.
And just to touch on that, like the zombies, they're not paid to come and set up the area, but everybody believed in this so much that they would get there early or run out there right before we opened just to help make this thing. So that was amazing. We definitely could not have done it without them. So now we have the kind of idea, and we sat down and we started thinking, what do we want to see in this? We didn't want this to be another maze that you just idly walk through. We wanted you to be engaged, so we decided to implement mission points, where you would come into the room and have to work as a team to solve different missions or puzzles or just an activity that we made you go through, locked in a cage half the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that brought us to the idea of implementing interactive missions was this whole idea that we're still kids at heart, we're still gamers. And one of the things, especially for those of you that are Call of Duty fans, how many of you are Call of Duty fans out here? Maybe Battlefield or whatnot, but any games, especially the games that are out maybe within the last 10, 15 years, you know, we get it. You know, we know that traditional mazes, you know, guests go into any haunt with the idea of making sure that what they're seeking is the idea of having fun, the idea of being scared, and definitely something that you could go home and talk about. But one of the things that, by playing games and being these gamers, was that the sense of accomplishment and achievement that you would get going through a maze was missing. And so that is one of the key ingredients that we wanted to bring over to Infected, was that sense that after you go through our attraction, you felt that you achieved something, that you achieved or accomplished something. It's just like in Call of Duty when you prestige, you want that swag, you want that nice little skin for your equipment, or that nice little camo, or something to brag about with your friends, almost like a leaderboard, if you would.
Which brings us to the technology that we implemented. You guys are looking at me sitting in a chair, the most miserable I have ever been in my entire life.
You know, he doesn't like talking about it, and so I'll go. For those of you, how many of you were at Special Ops Infected on the first year, on year one? You guys remember those Frankenstein guns? It's funny because this man, and this man alone, actually combined an airsoft gun and a laser tag gun, and made every single one of the guns that everyone used during Infected in his garage. He combined everything, and we talk about technology, but it's pretty incredible. I mean, John, you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, and I got to give credit where it's due. I did have a lot of help, whether it was my friends, my neighbors, the mailman, the ice cream man, anyone that would stop and help me. But we had something very particular in mind. We knew if we had some cheesy laser tag gun that the event would maybe fall flat. So, due to my stubbornness, we ended up buying a ton of laser tag guns, a ton of airsoft guns, ripping them apart, and then putting them back together. Here's one of them now. Might be the last one still in full tact. But I don't know. You know what? I think might be the last one, and I think during the Q&A, maybe we'll give it away if anybody wants it. If you get caught walking around the show floor with that, you didn't get it from Knott's. But so that brings us to the end of our first 2 years, or the first year anyways. In the second year, wanting another step towards a fully realized video game, one of the major components was the weapon system. We wanted it to be more of a gaming feel. So we brought out the Battle Rifle Pro, which had a lot of really cool features, being a health meter, so the zombies, when they're biting you, you're losing health, the rumble pack, the live scoring LCD display, and what's really cool about this technology, as cool as the gun is, it's more about what the zombies are wearing, the headbands. And, oh, we have that too, okay.
I know, I think I have
this
new gun.
This headband did not exist when we approached this company to do this. This is something that our team and their team worked very closely on, so that our zombies didn't have to have a giant computer strapped to their chest anymore. It was just a wireless headband with a series of sensors and emitters. And the sensors are receiving signals that they're being shot, and then the emitters would burst that signal back out, back to the rifle, so they knew that this rifle is the one that got the score, but also gave the zombies the ability to bite and therefore giving you guys a sense of urgency when your gun would stop working. It's because you had a zombie too close and your friend would have to bail you out. But even though we have all the technology, we have the sets, we have everything ready to go, there is no zombie apocalypse without one little ingredient being zombies. That's correct. And because of the big push in the media right now, everybody knows the zombie apocalypse is made up of hordes and hordes and hordes of zombies. So what did we do?
We had to bring in the largest cast in Knott's Scary Farm history. And it's pretty awesome because what you see there is only half the cast. And we were able to bring in almost 150 talented actors throughout the run, and maybe even equally more than that for those that have come in and provided assistance. But we've had the pleasure and the honor with enlisting the real superheroes in our lives. I think we were able to enlist active and inactive military service members from all the branches, military branches. We were also able to enlist the help of local law enforcement within our squad leader ranks, our cherished haunt veterans, as well as some of our raw and hungry new talent that helped lend their talents over to infected. Pretty incredible.
And that brings us to the end of our second year, where once again we find ourselves, it's supposed to be Christmas time, but we're still thinking zombie apocalypse, of course. What do we do next? Where do we go from here? What can we do to further the process of a fully realized video game? And for that, our answer is Black Ops Infected. I need to stand up for this one. This is exciting. So, what we have done is we have taken the infected experience out of Camp Snoopy and brought it backstage.
Woo!
Yeah.
Why do you ask? There's a couple major reasons. Number one, you get your precious Camp Snoopy back. And you can learn more about that at our media event coming up that we have at Knott.
So stay tuned.
But by bringing it backstage, we have a blank canvas. We can format this attraction however we'd like. And we're able to do so in a manner that will effectively eliminate the ticketing system. And therefore, we have adopted a more standard queue line, like you'd find at any haunted attraction at Knott's Berry Farm. So no more reservation, you don't have to run anymore, you come get in line anytime you'd like, and we will bring you through the apocalypse. The second big part about this is we don't have to worry about Camp Snoopy anymore. We can do whatever we want, the sky's the limit. So what we decided to do is build
Say it, let them know.
an entire city backstage. So you guys are gonna be running down the city streets and into the buildings.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the great things that we heard, and we listened to our guests in terms of what they really took and enjoyed out of Special Ops Infected, was the actual engagement, the engagement you have with the zombies. One of the things that we had, which was awesome at Camp Snoopy, was the fact that it ranged from your game style, or your firefights ranged from mid-range to long-range combat. But what the guests really enjoyed were those small moments throughout Special Ops Infected where you're in a tight room, a little bit up and close and personal with our zombies. So in Black Ops Infected, in our new city, in Calico City, it's now been switched over and turned upside down to where your firefights will not only range in both long-range combat, but mostly tight skirmishes like close-quarter combat and mid-range combat.
And one thing we really like to try and include from the beginning were interactive targets, which we have this one from year one. That's our brilliant effects team backstage that is coming up with this crazy stuff. But we really enjoyed these different animatronic effects or video effects, and that's one thing we are really improving upon. We want to bring the environment to life. So if you're shooting at a zombie and you miss, but you hit the light behind him, that light's going to wig out. Or you're going to shoot this guy off the container and he's going to fly backwards. So we're really trying to bring the whole Calico City to life. And what is a video game without the big boss at the end? So, we're introducing, there it is, a big boss at the end of this maze. So, like any boss in any video game, you need to find him because he's worth 10 times the point of any zombie. And we have also gotten away with the 3 shots count as 1 shot. We want you guys coming out with your scores like 200-300 zombie headshots. So 1 shot will be equal 1 point for this, this system. And that's bringing us to the end of our little sneak peek into the new Infected. We are truly excited to be bringing this event and further bring it along and push it into the future, continuing to keep pushing the boundaries of innovation with this attraction as well as many other attractions that you're going to be finding this year at Knott's.
Absolutely, and one of the things that we're extremely excited about is the idea of pushing the boundaries. I know it was a huge undertaking to get to this point, but we're not afraid to make mistakes. I think I think the whole goal that we had was to learn from our mistakes. And you know, we heard a ton of feedback about what would we do if we were able to actually be in a zombie apocalypse, and we're able to take those ideas, instill our ideas, and all the things that we grew up loving, and not be afraid to make mistakes and take a chance with this whole entire idea of the zombie apocalypse at Knott's Scary Farm.
Yeah, and to touch upon that, for this attraction, to me, just means having a good time. We have tons of things at Knott's that are meant to just scare the daylights out of you, but this one particularly, we want you to go through with your friends and come out with a smile on your face. You just blasted away a ton of zombies, and you had a great time doing it. And that's, I think, is the end goal. It goes back to our roots of playing video games with our brothers and our friends. It's all the end goal of just having a good time and blasting away a bunch of zombies while doing that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we hope that you guys all visit us at this season, and we hope we can deliver that brand promise. And making sure that if we can imagine it, we imagined it as kids, then it's here. It's here at Knott's Scary Farm. We're going to bring it to you the 2016 season, folks.
I don't know how much time we have left, but we're now going to open it up to a focused Q&A segment where we're going to be taking questions of whether it's the new Infected or old Infected, the history of Knott's Scary Farm. We also announced the all-new key rooms, as well as a couple of mazes. So if it's something we have announced, we can talk about it. So for any good questions we're going to be giving away, we have stickers for Infected as well as park tickets to Knott's Berry Farm. And the best question will walk away with the last ever 2014 Frankenstein gun. Yes. So questions? Do we have it? Okay, I see the first one.
We need some house lights.
Some house lights,
house
but...
lights, please. House lights, please.
Oh, we're getting you a mic, I think. There we go.
Is this thing on? Okay, hi. Will you be focusing on any other fears, like you did Doll Factory was a thing a while ago, and there's the fear of dolls and animatronics and all that. There's the fear of being alone, like in one of the skeleton key rooms, from what I recall from last week, you have to go through it alone. Will you be focusing on any fears like that?
Well, it's funny, not only was the Zozo key room influenced by a fear from a friend, but also, I think Ted is the one that mentioned, if I walk into a room and there's a Ouija board and I have to sit and participate, I'm not doing it. So I guess that's a big fear that we're playing on.
Absolutely. Yeah, so, is this on? Hello? Yeah, total phobic of Ouija boards. So that, yeah, I mean, we had that discussion earlier. So you're in for a real treat.
Next.
Next. Merry imagination.
Thank you.
Oh, could we give her tickets? The last one, please.
So, the Green Witch reigns terror all over Knott Scary Farm. Is she at all involved with infected in any way, shape, or form?
I mean, she's involved with everything at the park, one way or another, but not directly involved in this one. She's sitting this one out this year. I'll get the little Yep. I remember you. I
Yeah.
took you through Infected, didn't I?
Yep.
Yeah.
Are there going to be any new changes to the gun, like last year?
Physically, no, but programming-wise, we are making the instead of the 3 headshots, it's just the 1 that gets the points. And I think we're just doing unlimited ammo. We just want you guys going through, having a good time, shooting everything in sight.
Yeah,
Let's
absolutely.
get these guys in the back over here.
Since the ticketing system is going away, is the front of the line pass still going to work for Infected?
The front of the line pass will work for Infected.
Yes.
Cool. And what is the length of Infected this year? Is it still going to be the same?
One more time?
The length of Infected?
Well, the length of Infected takes up a good footprint. I think the way we design the maze, there's a lot of excellent use of space, and so the travel time I think you'll definitely like. I mean, it's
definitely not 6 acres, but it's so many tight quarters that you're twisting and turning. It's hard to put a time on it since we haven't ran it yet, but it's a pretty decent length experience. So let's get the guy in the blue, and then we'll jump to this side.
So seeing that the Black Ops Infected is in the back of Knott's, away from everything else, is there a possibility that that could be a year-round event?
As much as I wish, it actually takes up a lot of parking for the VPs at Knott, so I don't think they're going to give up their parking spots. Sorry.
All right, thank you.
Do we have another mic that we go to the side of the room or no?
Cute.
We run over there. Sir with the beard, did you have a question?
Hi. Just a question. The big zombie guy, what was his name?
Big Fugly!
Big Ugly, I believe it was.
Is it Ugly?
It's Fugly! Fugly!
Let's get the gentleman over there in the back of the yellow and black.
Just had a question in terms of technology-wise. Do the zombies know when they've been shot? Like, does it vibrate or anything on their sensors?
It does have it emits a little beep so that they know.
Cool.
Well, you already over these last few days, you guys announced that Tooth Fairy and Voodoo would be returning, correct?
One more time. Can't hear you.
You guys would be announcing that Voodoo and Tooth Fairy would be returning, correct?
Correct.
What are the enhancements or differences that you will be creating in the new Voodoo maze? Like any new rooms, any new scope?
No, for the old mazes, last year we put so much into revamping those. This year we decided to kind of stick with those changes so we can put more of our efforts and resources into new attractions this year. Whoever else, there you go.
Are there still going to be tasks, like little missions that you have to do within the maze?
There are minor tasks that you are going to have to complete because we are trying to open this up to get away from the ticketing system. It is a bit faster paced. You won't be full sprinting like you had to last year through the 6 acres, but